Hey, welcome back to the Greybeards podcast. I'm Mike Betcher, longtime foreign and war correspondent. Ken Campbell, long illustrious history in naval special operations and military intelligence, who also worked extensively in conflicts in the Persian Gulf. And my buddy, who are you? Bob Sands.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
man.
me.
No,
That's okay.
my friend,
It's
no,
easy to
just kidding.
forget.
No. My friend Bob Sands, who is a Hall of Fame investigative journalist, and when it comes to terrorism and many other issues, there's no one who's better versed to be part of this threesome here of the Greybeards than us. So a lot happening this weekend, guys. Uh, the president has just uh, put out a post on Truth Social saying today an Iranian flagged cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 feet long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past our naval blockade, and it did not go well for them, wrote Trump. He said, still quoting, the U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Spruance intercepted the Tuska in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair warning to stop. The Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. So, uh, this is an Iranian flagged ship. We don't know what it's carrying, but I would imagine that U.S. has intelligence saying it was carrying some significant things, but we'll see. But this is really the first shot fired in the U.S. blockade in the Gulf of Oman.
Yeah, and
What do you think?
the immediate Iranian response was that's a violation of the ceasefire. So they're threatening. Everybody is now claiming a violation of the ceasefire. So Ken's earlier comment today is probably very appropriate.
Well, it could be. Yeah, go ahead, Ken. What was Ken's comment earlier today?
Well,
Go ahead.
I got up this morning and, I popped open my news sources and, the first thing that popped up was that, uh, the straits were closed yet again. And this time the rationale reason pitched by the Iranians, was that if our ports are going to be blockaded, the straits are going to be shut down. So that was at least the rationale that came across my news feed, and then of course from there, we're back to square one with regard to the threats and the potential for return to conflict, kinetic
Well,
conflict rather.
the Iranians have fired on two Indian flagged tankers going through. Actually, let me play this back and forth between Iranian officials talking to
Uh-huh.
the one of the Indian ships.
Iranian Navy, Adelakti, go ahead, sir. I read you loud and clear. Okay, copy your message. I will turn back and there is no permission to project Harvard. Is that correct, sir?
No permission for you is what they're saying. So, um, and the one there was other audio of the Navy of the Indian, the captain of the Indian vessel saying, "Stop shooting at us. We have permission." So both of those tankers were carrying Iranian oil loaded from an Iranian port, and then once they hit the Straits of Hormuz, were saying they didn't have permission, and
Fog of
and
war,
they turned
Mike.
back
Fog
around.
of war. Somebody
Yeah,
didn't get the
fog.
message.
Oh,
Could you hear that well enough to
yeah.
hear what was going on with that?
Not really. It sounded very garbled, but I think we
It
got
came
the gist
across
of it.
okay to me, but
So,
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm taking Ken's
Okay, go with
review on
Ken.
it. That came
Go.
across well.
Yeah.
But it looks like this thing is coming unraveled. And then, in terms of the ceasefire, and then I was watching This Week with Jonathan Karl on ABC. And during the show, Trump called him to say that J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, would not be going to Pakistan for those talks.
I read the same
And
thing this morning, and then again, there appeared to be other news reporting suggesting he was going. So, be
but
very
Bob,
interesting here.
you're looking at reporting saying that the Iranians aren't even sure there are talks.
Yeah, the Iranians have said there's nothing scheduled, don't know what you're talking about. And one of the things that was pointed out, the talks are very high level and very prone to failure and would risk reigniting the whole thing again. So even if they got together, who knows what would happen. But at this point, the Iranians say there's nothing planned. We don't know what you're talking about. So I've heard this so many times. I heard it in church this morning. We don't know who to believe. And
Yeah, what I
again, we don't
will
know.
say, Bobby, is I ran a statistical analysis given all the information I've collated, through a probability model, and it was interesting what came spitting back. With regard to the talks, it basically said because of these complexities, all the issues, uh, it's going to take months to hammer out a real agreement. Particularly with regard to the Iranian uranium and enrichment program. And then, as we discussed in the previous podcast, we got the mines that have to be cleaned up. That's still a mess. And then we have Israel. Israel, according to news reporting, continued to conduct some limited strikes over the weekend. I believe on Saturday there was a strike. And of course, from the Iranian perspective, that's a stuck too. So it'd be very, obviously these next round of talks are going to be critical in setting conditions for further discussions and basically just, from my perspective, it's more about, agreeing to continue and not just, cutting losses. So that's kind of where I see things going over the next round of talks is they'll walk away again with nothing really conclusive other than to say, we got to continue talking.
I was looking at some opinion pieces and watching them as well, Iranian experts in the U.S. who say that there seems to be, the consensus seems to be, there's actually a debate going on behind closed doors in Iran between those in power right now. And inside the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps itself, one side of this says, let's continue defying the U.S. and resisting, and let's not go to the peace table. The other is saying, we have survived and essentially have won because there hasn't been a regime change. We're still in power. And so let's consolidate our gains. So, you can take it for what you think, or want. But anyway, that seems to be the debate, according to Iranian experts here.
Well, Iran is in an economic mess. So we've talked about the impact the war has had on, the average American citizen's finances and economic situation. Iran was already struggling with the sanctions and the pressures that have been applied, since February 28th, have really stressed the situation there for the people. And that's not lost on the leadership. Although, as you said, Mike, the RGC, the hardliners, they seem to be less inclined to worry about that. Meanwhile, I think it was the president of Iran who, a week, 10 days ago, said that the economy is going to collapse within weeks.
Well, it still hasn't. They're hurting, but it hasn't collapsed. And it's amazing what I've found in wartime in
Well, this isn't
societies.
the government. This is their economic situation. This gets down to
Yeah,
groceries and food and
yeah,
water and
no,
power.
and that's what I'm saying. What I've seen in wartime over the years in different countries is people find a way to survive and keep some sort of economy going. It'll go underground. It'll go somewhere else. It'll go somewhere where it's a little safer. But
This is Mad Max
commerce
and Thunderdome.
commerce does not stop. I mean,
Yeah.
it continues in wartime, and and if these talks aren't successful, what I worry about is the tit for tat in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. You know, threatens to bring us back to a hot war. And what happens then? And you know, all this talk about the U.S. destroy the Iranian Navy. No, they didn't. You know, if you've looked at the video of those tunnels along the coastline that have hundreds of these small attack boats that the Iranians have, and that's what they apparently were using against the two Indian tankers. But I mean, there are hundreds of those things. I mean, they could wreak havoc. Were those used, or those types of vessels used in the tanker war?
No, but Iran has been preparing for a conflict with the United States for years. And so, uh, part of their strategy was to, I don't know that the word perfect is correct, but part of the strategy was to operationalize the use of small boats and to swarm a vessel, such as a combatant vessel, to the degree where the weapon systems on the ships would not be able to keep up with all the go fast boats that are cruising around with their rocket launchers and other weaponry. So Iran has prepared for this, and they prepared for a long time.
Yeah, and so I mean, they still have significant capability, but you know, they don't need all those boats. They just have a handful of mines somewhere out there, and
Yeah, and
they've
those
lost
boats
track.
can launch them. They've got boats that can carry two or three and just speed out there and drop them and speed back in.
Hey, could you go over again? I found that fascinating, but for those who missed it in an earlier podcast, could you go over again those mines? You know, the types of mines they have, the
Sure.
Iranians.
So they have generally, four types. They've got the floating mines. These are like the old World War II mines that have the trigger mechanisms in what we call these contact horns. So they're sticking it. It's a cylindrical uh, shaped mine that just floats, and if a ship strikes the mine, hits those horns, the mine detonates and blows a hole in the ship. And then you've got anchored mines, both contact and influence. So you could have some of these contact mines anchored, by a chain to large anchor system. Uh, those kind of mines are typically put into a channel to preclude submarines from transiting. So they're down in the void. They're well below the draft of, say, a carrier or something like that. And then you have tethered mines that are similar to that, except that they are triggered by influence. And those influences that the mine will trigger on are a combination of acoustic and seismic sensing. So the mine sensor in the firing logic will be listening for the throb of the propeller, right? And that'll
Yeah.
wake up the mine. That wakes up the mine and says, "Okay, stand by to fire." That just armed it. And then the mine firing logic is looking for another sensor input, whether that's acoustic, magnetic, seismic, vibration. Just depends on how the firing system is designed. And then you have bottom mines, which are designed to sit, several hundred feet all the way on the bottom. And these are all uh, sensorized firing systems as well. The way they work is when the main charge detonates, And that charge is anywhere from 220 to 320 kilograms. When that explosive charge detonates, it creates a very large gas bubble. And as that gas bubble rises, it expands. And by the time it gets to the surface, ideally, the ship is passing right over the top of it, and that bubble comes right up under the ship. Now there's no water to buoy up the ship, and the ship just collapses in the air bubble, and it snaps the back of the ship, and it sinks. So that's a very basic tutorial on the Iranian mines. Of course, they've got the little limpet mines too, where they can drive a small boat up alongside a larger boat and slap a magnetic mine on the side of a vessel, or deliver those by a combat swimmer. But for the most part, what I've described is what's in the inventory, with the exception of one more. It's a rather sophisticated rig. It includes a mine case that has a torpedo encapsulated inside, and it's activated by sensor input. When the appropriate signals are processed, it launches that torpedo. And that torpedo can do about 200 miles an hour. It uses a solid propellant type power source, and it just drives that torpedo like a little rocket, except that it's got guidance capabilities, and that's based on a Chinese design.
Wow. So, Bobby, what's on your agenda today?
One thing, what happened here? Hello, there we are. One thing that struck me interesting, you guys were talking about the economic impact of all of this. And there's another element, and it's not one most folks would ever think of, that now is really in short supply and is driving up costs like crazy, and it's sulfur and sulfuric acid. That's a very important component for all kinds of things, from pharmaceuticals to mining. And the world is running out of it. There's not enough. And where does it mostly come from? China produces a lot, but they use a lot. So everything they produce, they use up. Where do you suppose they go get their new supplies? They go right to the Middle East. And it's also a byproduct of oil and gas operations. So there you go. Another one that's impacting all kinds of things in the economy. Like I said, everything from pharmaceuticals to mining. And it's in very short supply. So something else to start driving up prices.
Yeah, I read an economic report this morning. There was a discussion by one of the money magazines, and a financial analyst was talking about where we are right now versus where we might be in several months. And unfortunately, I think the analysts underclubbed the situation, because right now, we're feeling some level of pain with gas prices. There was comments made that the farmers here in the United States, and Bobby, you can probably shed some light on this, but the farmers here in the U.S. had already stockpiled fertilizer for the 2026 growing season.
Yes.
But that doesn't account for what happens when we get down to several months from now, when this supply chain disruption hits hard. Right now, we're going through everything on the shelf, and so it doesn't seem so bad. And there's some discussion about how there's a certain resilience, and maybe it's not going to be as bad as we're projecting, and maybe it won't. But I think the worst is yet to come.
Yeah, as far as that fertilizer thing is concerned, a lot of farmers did lock in contracts early for the supplies they're going to need. Some didn't. Anybody who didn't lock in that price right now is facing a very serious problem. And they're going to have to decide whether or not to use it, to cut back. Whatever ends up happening, the supply is going to be shorter. They're not going to be able to produce as much.
So it's not just about availability, it's also about the increase of price.
Increase in price, absolutely. Yeah. So, and not everybody locked in their prices early. Those who could afford it did. There's lots of farmers out there can barely afford to put food on the table, let alone lock in fertilizer prices. So there you have it.
Right, Bobby, I'm curious. I didn't get to church this morning, but I know you did.
Yeah.
Is this something being talked about?
You know, it was so subtle today. It was fascinating. Okay, I'm a Methodist, okay? And in our call to worship, which the pastor writes every Sunday, it's something new. He put in there at a time when the world is under all these pressures. We're all looking at various things in the news media and we're feeling the stress and the harm and the hurt that's going on. And who do we believe? And he even used that term in there. Who are we supposed to believe? And that really caught me. And his whole sermon was about a passage that involves actually some misquoted stuff by the president. But anyway, the point was that we're all supposed to be in a mindset of working together and accomplishing things, and this division is just tearing us apart. So, in a way, yes, it's going right into the sermon. It's going right into the call to worship. And the feeling that I got, even from the conservatives about our church after service, they don't like what's going on between the president and the Pope. And that picture,
Thank you, Bobby. I was going to ask, what's the
yes,
general sentiment?
the picture of Trump posing as Jesus Christ healing someone and people genuflecting and praying there next to him just thoroughly threw a loop into tons of them. These were guys who have always supported Trump. And all of a sudden, no, that's too much. You've crossed a line. And of course, I guess you guys have already seen the president's going to read from the Bible in prime time later this coming week. I believe it's on Wednesday. Some Bible passages in it all to start reading the Bible.
I'm sorry. Is he gonna read with the Bible upside down, or what's the deal? And will it be a Trump Bible or a King James or?
Oh, it'll be a Trump Bible of that, I'm quite sure. And I think he's going to read from Ezekiel, which is also Ezekiel 7, which has already been misquoted badly.
I'm sorry, Bobby. You and I had this discussion a little bit about religion. Of course, I was raised Latter-day Saint,
and I was raised Mennonite.
You know, please pass me some bourbon now.
Yes,
but,
absolutely. Both of us.
You know, it's not funny. I mean, what's going on here? It's beyond tragic. You know, if anything, this inject of religion just complicates the entire situation.
Especially once you get that into the military, and it's really, really becoming pervasive now. And this Christian nationalism is, well, if you ask me, it's not very far off from Christian Israelism. So, you know,
what do you think of Hegseth, you know, standing up at the Pentagon and reading a fictional passage from the Bible taken from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
That was kind of hysterical, you know.
It was very hysterical. And
I
loved the way he would read a passage and then they would cut to Pulp Fiction. And there's the same thing, you know. And it was like, oh my God, guys, really? Come on. At least quote the Bible and not some dumb movie. But hey, that's, you know, it's a matter of what really suits them in this particular religious belief system. Whatever fits in with their ideology is what they're going to adopt. It doesn't make any difference if it's real or not. It's just part of what they want to believe.
Well, it harkens back to, you know, this little ditty phrase. It was probably more popular during Vietnam. You know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Right?
Mm-hmm. I will fear
no evil because I'm the biggest, the baddest, the meanest MF in the valley. Right? Amen.
Yep, that was it. Amen and hallelujah, brother.
Well, you know, thanks for giving us that glimpse from services this morning. I think everyone needs some prayers going towards hopeful negotiations and that they do convene on Monday. Yeah, I really think both sides don't want to start lobbing missiles back and forth again. But I think the real problem is we still don't know exactly who is calling the day-to-day shots, if anyone is in Iran right now.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
dealing with the Speaker of the House. So, I mean,
yeah,
that kind of low level almost, isn't it?
yeah. Well, I mean, he is incredibly influential. I mean, more than our speaker, probably of our house. Um, but
Yeah.
I think within the IRGC itself, I don't think anyone knows for sure because we don't know for sure how badly through the early attacks in the war, how badly their command and control system and leadership was hit. I don't think we have a full picture of that yet. So that's why I think sometimes we're a little blind. Our incredible intelligence agencies hopefully are on that. I'm sure they are, but that hasn't made it out into the public space that I've seen. But been a lot of speculation, but nothing definitive.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's spot on, Mike.
Absolutely. You got it.
you guys got anything else on your mind today?
Yeah, but the truth is, I think we've developed enough already to be concerned about. And the big key is going to be: are the talks going to start tomorrow? Will there actually be meetings? Will they actually sit down and will they actually talk? If they'll do that, like Ken points out, we got a chance.
Yeah, I will say one thing, Mike. With Peaceworks Information Group, I am starting to focus on China and the implications of this war with regard to China and what they're certainly thinking. Of course, Taiwan has loomed there and for years, and there's a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure, being picked up by the Chinese watching what's going on now, particularly with Iran's ability to fight this asymmetric strategy, and it seems to be doing fairly well.
I mean, it seems to me China's been the big winner in all of this. I mean, their stature. I mean, they're getting hurt economically like everyone else, but their stature in the world has risen. I don't think there's any doubt or debate about that.
And let me just clarify one thing, because I don't want it to sound like I'm pro-Iranian. I'm pro-Iranian people, not pro-Iranian government or the RGC Quds Force or their proxies. But their strategy is survival, and so they're doing that. We're knocking the hell out of their military targets and their infrastructure, and we could very well go in there and level all the critical infrastructure. But again, my point is that Iran is nowhere near capitulating at this point, and so the lessons that are being sucked up by China have more to do with how are they continuing to hang in there.
Yeah, and that also kind of takes us back to the threat ideology, the threat process that Mr. Trump uses on a regular basis. And he's reissued that this morning on his Truth Social. We'll knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran if you don't do what we want.
Right.
So we're back to threats.
Well, let's regroup and take a look as we begin this work week and see where things end up. Let's see if they're all our talks, and let's all convene back together here early in the week and figure out where we're going from here.
Sounds good.
Fingers crossed that peace talks keep going.
Yes.
All right.
And I only got one last thing to say, and that is thunder up. OKC Thunder going for back-to-back. Congratulations to my University of Oklahoma women's gymnastics team winning the national championship.
Yay, girl. The guys came in second.
Yeah, they
almost
they were ranked number one in the country. So anyway, but good sporting news here in Oklahoma, while the rest of the news in the world sucks. So anyway, guys, I love you guys, and
Love you
we'll
too.
talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
See you.
Okay, bye.